What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be installing the Samco Radiator hoses. As you can see, I've already removed the fairings. I'm not going to go over how to remove the fairings because I've done that in another video called how to remove the servo motor. I want to make this video as short as possible, so I want to save time by not showing how to remove the fairings. I'm going to link the video in the description if you need to see how to remove them. I also purchased the Samco oil cooler hoses, one here and one from the other side, but I'm not going to be doing that today for a few reasons. One, I have to drain the oil to change those hoses, and I don't want to drain the oil yet because I will be draining it when I receive the new dry cloths I purchased. Yes, that's right, I purchased the dry cloths from STM. I'm going to be doing a how to install and the whole process and a lot more videos and review on the new dry cloths. That's going to be crazy, guys, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so the process to replace the hoses is very simple. First, we're going to start by draining the coolant, then remove the stock hoses, replace them with the Samco hoses, then refill the new coolant. This should be a very, very fast process, but I know it's going to be a little bit tedious. Why? Because of the right side where the thermostat is. If we were doing a thermostat delete, this would be much faster. Unfortunately, I'm not doing a thermostat delete, so it will be a little bit tedious going through here inside because there is also one screw, I don't know if you can see it right there, that holds the middle pipe that goes from here all the way back to the thermostat. So we're going to have to remove that. This probably is a 7mm socket. I'll have to check it, replace all the hoses, refill, and the process will be done. Okay, before you start draining the coolant, you have to remove the coolant cap by putting pressure down. Remove it, make sure you have a rag with you because this is going to leak a little bit from here. There you go. Because if you don't remove the cap, the coolant will not be able to drain. There you go, this is going to drip, see? Because the cap holds some fluid. So be cautious when you remove it, and you're good to go. This is not pressurized, so when we remove the drain bolt from the other side, it's gonna drain. Okay, now with a 5mm hex, we're going to loosen. There you go. That's enough. Just be careful because this is going to come out exploding. There you go. Now you don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm basically measuring the amount that I'm going to remove for reference to start refilling it after with the same amount. You don't really have to do that. You can just go ahead and top off the radiator, but I want to have a number for reference to know what I removed and what I also refilled. And at the same time, you can go ahead and start pushing these hoses around to drain as much as you can, and from the other side of the bike, and let it drain completely. Okay, I replaced the bolt here only so I stop the dripping. I'm going to replace this with a titanium pre-drilled later, but for now I'm just leaving this in place. And I will start with this hose right here. And the process is the same for everything. So these are a little bit rough to remove, so you can just use some silicone spray right there, just to help it a little bit. There you go, see, much easier. Do some lube. I'm gonna use the exhaust spring. Pull here to help remove it. There you go. Done. The key to this is have silicone lube and some type of grab underneath to help it break it loose. And now we can just replace with a Samco hose. Now we're going to replace this with a Samco. Before we do that, we're going to place the 35s. These are also the Samco. Guys, make sure you get the Samco clamps, because don't use any others. The others basically have holes here. These do not. See how smooth they are? If you use others, you will ruin your radiator hoses and you will lose your warranty and you have leaks. I know this is a little bit pricey, but go ahead, spend the money for it. It's worth it. You will never have to remove the hoses ever again. These are both 35s, and they use a 7mm socket. And at the end, once we fit everything, we're going to torque these. Samco, on their instructions, they have the torque specs for this and how much to tighten. Okay, now that the hose is in place, loosen these a little bit so they can go above. Right here. Just hand tight for now, just so they're in place. This is not the right position. We have to pull it as far away as we can from the edge. Based on what Samco recommends, they recommend, I believe, about 10mm away from each end. That's not possible here, so what we're going to do is we're going to go as far as possible as we can right here, but for now, just hand tight is enough. Next, we'll go with this, some silicone here, make it easier to remove. Put some silicone there, right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to remove this as one piece. There you go. I don't really care if I damage these hoses. I'm not going to use them anyway. But I'm going to use this metal pipe, so for that reason. Okay, some silicone here now to remove this. Oh, interesting. No coolant. That's good. And remove this because we're going to reuse this again. Now that this is removed, before we remove this mid hose, this is what we have to remove first. This keeps it in place. I believe that's 7mm. I have to double check right now. Remove that, and we will have to reinsert it to the Samco radiator hose before we pass it through here. There you go. This is what's there. I'm gonna remove this, put it to the new hose. There you go. Okay, now that this side is removed, I'm not going to insert this Samco hose here and link the entire pipe here. Why? Well, I have to remove the right side first, and when that's complete, and I bring the new Samco hose here, that's where I'm going to link it right here. Now from this side, here at the thermostat, this is the hose that goes from the other side, and it's also clipped right here with a zip tie, which we'll have to cut for now, and then we'll use another zip tie later, because we'll have to remove this that goes from the other side over there, right here. We also have the carbon covers that I don't want to ruin. Okay, let's see if that was enough to pull it down. Yep, there you go. First, we're going to remove this hose over here. Now about this, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to grab this. We'll have to find out. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to put some silicone spray here just to make it a little bit easier. Hopefully, this will help. It's the only one I'm worried about. It's too tight in here, so we'll see what we can do. So basically, you can push it down as much as you can over here to make some space. because the frame doesn't allow the clamp to go in. Right there. Push it. Okay, that was easy. See, this tool is a lifesaver with combination. The silicone, guys, you're going to need this 2 tools if you're going to remove these hoses. Now the question is, how is it going to be to remove it from here? And this is also plastic here, so I'm afraid to put tools in there, but I think it's inevitable. I have no choice but to use tools. Okay, I'm gonna attempt to remove maybe this one too. This might help a little bit. And I will also remove this one. I think we're just gonna try to get to them all at the same time and just pull them off. Right there. That way, if we create some space from this. Yeah, this might have fluid in here. Yep. There you go. And now with this, maybe we can create some space. Well, I can always cut the hose. I mean, I'm not going to use it again, so. There you go. You know what? That was a lot easier than I thought it would be, as long as you do it with the right order. Now the question is, how is it going to be to insert the Samco hose in there? We'll find out. And now we can remove this. This is the process, actually. This is the order, because you can't put the clamp in there. So you have to go with this order in order to get to this and remove. So we're gonna go in reverse right now by adding the Samco hoses. Okay, you're gonna use the stock hoses for reference for this and this, because this is going to go underneath and this is going to go. We're gonna start with this here first, pass it in, back the frame, and then we're gonna continue with adding the rest of the hoses, basically exactly in reverse. Okay, because once we insert this behind the frame, we won't be able to reach this. We're going to torque it right now. Samco recommends 5 Newton meters for this size of clamps. It could be 6 Newton meters if it's a larger clamp, or 4 Newton meters or 3 Newton meters for a smaller one. So for this is 5. There you go. 5 Newton meters. Perfect. Okay, so basically I'm going to insert this first. Okay, pass it through here, just like before. There you go. Okay, now we're going to insert the 25 clip on this one. We're going to go all the way underneath, under the oil coolant bracket, all the way straight down. And we'll go from here. All the way up here. Now we can torque this. We're not going to go on the other side first. We're going to insert this before going the other side. All right, next, we're going to go with this. This is also 35. Okay, now I'm going to torque this later too. Okay, now I'm going to also empty the coolant reservoir. Before I empty it, I'll have to remove this 4mm hex here, and also remove this hoses here, because I'm also going to replace these with red ones. 4mm. Wow, I had red Loctite in here. That's why it was so difficult to remove. There you go, and then here you're just gonna pull this open and empty it out. Now we're gonna replace these. Goes all the way down here through these clips. Now what we're gonna do is make sure we have the same length. Okay, the red one is longer. There you go. Now I'm going to reinsert that from there. Okay, I know it's a little difficult to show you guys in here the whole process, but you get the point. Yeah, I think we'll do the job. There's no pressure here anyway, it's not too much pressure. I think it should be fine. We'll try these two here. Okay, now to replace this, measure this one. Got it right there. Yeah, these are too small, too tight for some reason. I'm gonna use the Samco clamps. Okay, actually for this I'm going to use the Samco clamps. Came with it. And then insert this here. All the way in. And insert this here. There you go. And there for the clamps. These I'm not going to torque because they're plastic here, so I'm just going to hand tighten. I'm gonna go by feel. Here. I'm not gonna go through the whole process. This is basically same process like the rest. Gonna tighten right there, but not yet because we have to make sure we clear the radiator cap. So before I tighten that, I'm gonna cap it first here to make sure it clears it. But it's good and tight to be in place for now there. Now we're back on the left side and we're gonna connect the mid pipe to this, with this, and this one right here. This is the easiest and the last part, but I was under the impression that I would have to use this again, but I cannot because the new Samco hose is much thicker than this, so if I go all around, I cannot clamp it to bolt it back on the engine, so that's okay. We're just gonna leave it like that. It's all the same anyway. It doesn't really serve any much purpose behind here anyway, so one less thing to do. So before I actually go ahead and connect this to the mid pipe, I'm going to add this hose and this hose here, so it's easier, so I won't have to do it while the pipe is here. It's gonna be more difficult right here. I have a better way. I'm gonna start by inserting this hose only. I'm going to place it all the way in, and then with the clamps already in, I'm going to insert it here. Right there. So I have this leverage to insert it in here at the same time. There, that way I create this space here, and from there I can insert this, but before I do that I'll have to pass the clamp in here. All right, there you go. With this order it's more simple. Now let's place the clamps. Now that I've placed all the clamps in the right position, I'm gonna start torquing at 5 Newton meters. There you we go. Torque this too. All right. Now to get to this, to torque it, I'm going to use the extension. I'm going to go from underneath. There we go. And now I'm going to replace the drain bolt with a titanium pre-drilled and a new copper washer. And this is a 10 millimeter socket. Now on the manual I found that this is 10 Newton meters, so I'm going to torque it at 10 Newton meters. There we go. Now that all the hoses are in place and tight and torqued, I'm going to refill with coolant. The manual states between 2.2 and 2.4 liters. I know I drained exactly 2.2 liters, so I'm going to start with the first liter, put it in, and then top off the radiator slowly. Okay, see right now the radiator is full, even though I barely put 1 liter, because it needs to absorb it in. Okay, now you can resume, go slow so you don't get any leaks. Okay, the 1 liter is already in. I cannot put any more because now I have to go from the other side and start squeezing the hoses around so I can make sure I get a lot of that coolant inside the hoses, and then come and refill until I fill the 2nd liter. Now from this side, if you can see, when I squeeze this, you can tell that there's coolant in here because I can't squeeze it anymore. See, there's a lot of pressure compared to here where it's empty. All right guys, I was able to put exactly 2.2 liters back in. A tip, how to make sure you can put exactly the same amount back. Not only you should squeeze the hoses. See, I was able to top it off right there. So if you squeeze it, you can see it coming out. I was able to squeeze the hoses from right and left, but also I went from the left side of the bike and I leaned the bike probably 60-65 degrees down, holding with my knee, so I can bring all the liquid all the way down to the hoses and then lift it back in, squeeze them, bring the air bubbles out and top it out. Now I have exactly the same amount I drained before. That's why I measured it, because I wanted to have a reference point to know what I removed and what I reinserted. Now the next step is to start the engine, let the temperature go up so the fans kick in. That way the coolant can go through all the hoses and through the thermostat. It will go through the entire engine and around the hoses, and then you can double check the level when the coolant is cool again. Don't open this while the engine is hot. And you can also double check the level here. So right now it's empty, the reservoir is empty. If you get coolant back in the reservoir, it means you're good, you don't have to refill. You're just gonna open this when it's cool again, just to check the level, make sure everything's okay, and you're good to go. Now I'm not going to start the engine right now because it is 11 o'clock at night, and if I do start this GP22, the entire building will collapse, so I'll have to leave that for tomorrow. Now I think I'm going to take this opportunity that the fairings are off and also remove the tank, and do a next video on how to remove the evap canister. After I remove the evap canister, I think the next video will be not a mod, but a complete walk around of the entire bike, of all the parts I've installed so far. Why? Well, because I'm waiting for that part, which will be the dry cloths that will replace the entire cover here. And unfortunately, I won't have the dry cloths for probably another 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I'm not really sure yet. I just ordered it, so until I receive that, I think a good walk around video is a good idea. Thank you for watching, guys. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. It helps me a lot with my channel. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.